Hey everybody, Ed Homewood, Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today should be an interesting video. We're going to talk about this really cool piece from SMSL. It's called a DO400, and it's a headphone amp, DAC, preamp. It's got a bunch of different functions. It's kind of cool. Sit back, relax, and we'll get going on this video. Well, before we get started, big shout out to Yoshida Electronics. They provided this unit for me for review. Yes, they did provide the unit, but all of my thoughts, conclusions are all of my own. So again, big shout out to Yoshida. In the spirit of full disclosure, there will be an affiliate link to this in the pinned comment and in the video description. So now let's get going on the review. So what is the SMSL DO400? Well, it's a fully balanced headphone amp, DAC, preamplifier. It's kind of an all-in-one, really nice desktop device. Sells for $499. Now, as a headphone amplifier, it's pretty powerful, and when we go inside, I'll show you why. It is rated at 6,000 milliwatts at 16 ohms, 3,000 milliwatts at 32 ohms, 700 milliwatts at 300 ohms, and 350 milliwatts at 600 ohms. It is a fully balanced design. It uses what they call a four-way ultra-low distortion precision linear feedback circuit, PLFC. Of course, they're going to have an acronym for that stuff, right? It is based on the ESS Sabre 9039 MS Pro DAC chip, and we're going to talk about that. It will do, and I'll put specifications up here, but it will do on USB 32-bit 768, DSD 512, and on SPDIF, like all SPDIF, it's 24192. Has some good goes intos and goes outas. I'll show you when we look at the back of the unit. Has good output as far as the front panel. I'll show you that when we look at the front panel of the unit. Got some good THD specs and things like that. You'll see them up there. This is an MQA decoder. God knows why. Who cares, right? Anyway, it does do that, and it does support Bluetooth, SPC, AAC, aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC. So it's got all of those covered. So let's do this. Let's take a look at the front. Let's take a look at the back. I'm going to open it up. We're going to go inside. I'm going to show you a lot of really cool stuff that's in this particular unit, and we'll talk about all of that. Well, here we are looking at the front panel of the SMSL DO400 headphone amp DAC. As you can see, very nice display, and we're going to zoom in on that in just a second, but this is your multifunction knob and volume control if you're using in preamp mode. You have your balanced headphone in on XLR. You've got a 1/4 inch 6.3 millimeter single-ended and a 4.4 millimeter balanced pentagon connector. So let me reconfigure and we'll look at the display and go through the menus. Well, we're zoomed in a little bit here on the front panel, and you can see it says USB, that's our input. Shows the sample rate at 44.1. Up here in the upper right-hand corner it says PCM, and then of course our volume control in dB. And again, it's minus dB because we're attenuating the signal and we're not amplifying the signal. So if I push that center control button, or that multifunction button, we get to our menu system, and the first one that we come to is input. So we can choose USB, Bluetooth, optical coax, AES, EBU, I2S, and then we go back to USB. Then on outputs, we can choose to have everything outputting, all the line out, balanced and single-ended. We can just do headphone. That way we're not running into an amp and playing headphones and speakers at the same time. We can choose just XLR. We can choose just single-ended if you would like to. Then on PCM filter, you can actually choose a bunch of different filters. And I actually, for the first time in a very long time, heard a bit of a difference on these. More so on the sound color when we get to that. So you can choose your filter slope, however you want to do it. Then you have your DSD filter, which is just choosing your cutoff frequency. I just leave it in the default setting of 47 kilohertz, so it is what it is. Then headphone gain, high or low, very simple. Then we go to sound color, and this is where it was interesting. I actually heard a difference amongst these, and typically I don't. The differences are so subtle, it's like almost near as makes no difference. But here I found that they did make a nice difference, and I settled on rich number 3, and there's tube and standard and crystal and all kinds of other stuff. And again, I settled on rich number 3, and I found that to be very pleasing. Pre-mode, obviously you could have it be a variable output. The volume knob on the front panel works as a volume knob, or you can have it be fixed if you're just going to use it as a preamp to run to a speaker amp. Then you have your function key, and again on the remote control, not again, on the remote control, there's a function key, as you can see. There's the remote, by the way, and you can program that to do, a quick function. Let's say you want to go between high and low gain on the headphone, you could do that. Outputs, you can choose to output, function key, you can choose to output Bluetooth phase, you can make it switch line in, whatever. So there are some functions to it. Then DPLL is actually for changing, if you're running optical from your TV, and sometimes there's a handshake issue with Toslink and the TV, so you can just use a DPL to make that handshake more stable and sound better. I2S mode, normal or reversed. That is again for the jack, the HDMI cable. Audio phase, you can have it be normal or inverted if you wish to. Dimmer is how, when the 10 seconds and the display will go blank, you can have brightness, and you can set it all the way up or down, and then reset back to factory reset. Now if you push and hold the button just for a second, it brings you back to the main screen. If you push and hold the button for a long time, turns the unit off. So that's the front panel of the SMSL DO400 Pro. Let's take a look at the inside. I'm sorry, SMSL DO400. Well, here we are looking at the inside of the DO400 from SMSL. I've tried to get as much of the circuit board in the frame as possible. So this is the front, and that's actually the multifunction knob, volume control, so forth there. And this is the back panel, XLR single-ended, all of the other inputs here. So let's start up at the front. And what I find is interesting is it uses 4 of the Texas Instruments TPA 6120A2 headphone amplifier. Now this is a really good quality current feedback Class AB headphone amplifier. Now the way it's used here is, I think, super interesting. So this is what they call a 4-way ultra-low distortion discrete amplification path. So normally in a headphone amp, you're going to find one for the left channel, one for the right channel. But what they've done is they've actually gone a little bit different. So one of these handles the right channel positive, right channel negative wave, left channel positive, left channel negative wave. So it's really unique in that it's, it adds to the fact that this is a completely differential balanced headphone amp anyway, but now we're applying one chip for each waveform section, and that gives it this really good power. As I mentioned, it is 6,000 milliwatts at 16 ohms, so it's got some drive to it. So anyway, this is the ESS Sabre 9039 DAC chip. It's the MS Pro. Over on the right-hand side, we've got our linear power supply, and you got one power supply for digital, one power supply for analog. You've got Nichicon capacitors in line, very good, very regulated. Now, SMSL in their marketing material talks about having an XMOS processor working in conjunction with TI OPA 12 op amps. Let me explain that, and it is kind of a bit of a misleading thing. First off, before we talk about the XMOS, that's the SPDIF input processor. There's your Qualcomm Bluetooth. So SPDIF is a different, because that is PCM coming in. That needs to be converted to an I2S for the DAC chip to mess with it, and that's what this chip does. But here's your XMOS XU-316. Now, what is an XMOS XU-316 chip do? It does USB audio interface. That's it. That's all it does. It handles all the USB audio input and output, and input from the back panel, output to the DAC chip. It does clocking, digital signal routing. It does do the MQA conversion for the 3 people on Earth that care about it. And it communicates directly with the DAC chip via I2S. Now, if we come in on I2S, which this unit does have, it goes straight to the DAC chip without passing through the XMOS or the SPDIF processor. Now, what do the OPA 1612s do? Well, the 1612 is just an op amp, but it's a high precision, fairly low noise, very low distortion, very kind of ultra wide bandwidth. It's got a decent slew rate, can produce some voltage. It's used in analog sections like this. It does do what's called IV conversion, or current to voltage conversion, for current output DACs. Now, I don't know if the ESS 9039 MS Pro is a voltage DAC or a current DAC. I think it's a current output, which is why you have so many 1612s. And by the way, that's left channel, right channel layout, because it is fully balanced. So they do some output buffering. They do some active low pass filtering with their ancillary components around them. But it's key to the output stage before it gets the headphone amplifier or to the line out. And these will provide enough voltage for the line out. So in conjunction with the XMOS XU-316, basically what we've got is a good clean signal path with plenty of processing. Now, one of the things I found a little bit interesting is these little silver things right here. Those are oscillators, and I don't know what type they are or what functions they actually do. They're clocking, obviously, but I don't know how accurate they can be being this small. A lot of times you'll see in high-end DACs and high-end DDCs and things like that, temperature regulated, oven controlled oscillator clocks or oscillators embedded in a pure nitrogen atmosphere for stability. These seem to do a good job. This thing sounds good, so I don't know. Anyway, but that's the oscillators in the clock. This device here is a CPU, basically. It is the traffic cop for inside the unit. It handles all the signal routing. It handles, where things are going, who's doing what, what's on the front panel display, what options you chose in the menu, those kinds of things. And that's really pretty much it. A nicely laid out, and actually really good performing unit, but I'll get more into that in a minute. So let's do this. Let's button that up. Let me go ahead and tell you about the way I tested it, some of the music I used, and I'll give you my final thoughts, and we'll get the heck out of here. Well, for testing, I used it primarily on my desktop. I used the built-in DAC. I did use a DDC reclocker. I used the SMSL DO400 Pro, as well as the new Duke U2, and I don't know if that's still the right model number. This is brand new. I haven't seen it for sale yet. I think I have a prototype version of it. I used that, and it worked really well. I didn't try any of the other DDC reclockers that I have, the Singzer or the Matrix or the Live, just because it's sitting on my desktop, and I'm not that critical with headphones as I would be with my normal stereo gear. So anyway, I tested with a bunch of different headphones. I used the FIO FT7s. I used the FIO FT5s. I used the Hifi Divas. That was a really good combination. I used the Sennheiser Massdrop 6XX. I used the FT1 Pros, and I used a brand new pair of headphones that are just coming out. I really can't talk about it because it's from a different vendor than the folks who are providing me this gear for this. But anyway, it performed really well. I thought sonically it was excellent. We'll get into that in just a second. Now on a desktop as a preamp, I used it with the Cambridge Audio MXW70 as an amplifier and the MXN10 streamer as a source, as well as Artivana, and then also Tidal and Qobuz apps, because not everybody has Artivana. So I gave it a good test. I listened to it long and hard. I gave it about probably 42 hours of or 48 hours maybe, of just running in, just powered on and just running music through it at no volume to try to see if there was a break-in cycle. And I really couldn't detect much of a difference between the initial listening when I first powered it up and then later on. But anyway, so as far as that goes, this is one of the few, I think, no, it's not the only one. I've done a couple of units lately that have this new Sabre 9039 MS Pro DAC chip in it. And many of you know I'm not a big Sabre DAC fan. I just don't think they're very good. They are glary sounding, and I think it's the oversampling. This one's pretty good. I thought, I'm not disappointed in it. I've got some other stuff here from other manufacturers with it in that are, for the home hi-fi and for desktop that I'll be talking about later on in reviews. But I think the 9039, I think ESS is getting better at their game on it. There is a little bit of glare in it. There is a little bit of stridency, and I don't know if that's the DAC chip. I don't know if it's the circuit topology, although otherwise this thing sounded really good. I just think they're getting better at it. They're doing a better job. Obviously, there's a lot of competition in DAC chips, and so everybody's upped their game for sure. So I thought it sounded really good. I thought one of the things that was really nice, it was very clean. There was good detail in it, and not too much detail. It didn't get strident. It didn't get fatiguing. A lot depended on the headphones too, as far as particular sonic character. But overall, it is a very full sounding. Bass was good and fast and deep and articulate. The mid-range was very well presented, but again, very dependent on the headphone. I thought this device was able to provide whatever headphones I was listening to with the proper signal for them to perform at their best level. And I think it did a really good job at that. The funny thing and the curious thing was, this is probably the first DAC, yeah, I think it is, that the differences in the sound color modes, the rich, the crystal, the tube sound, the standard, whatever, I could hear those differences pretty well. And I wound up settling on rich number 3, and it was good and full, and there was warmth to it, and I was really satisfied with that. And I thought that was great that I could hear those now. I don't know if they've changed the way they profile those, or if it's a change in the DAC chip and the way it handles those colors, or what the colors it offers are. I don't know if it's the 4TI headphone amp chips, but there was good warmth and good detail, and it was very, very pleasant to listen to. And I listened to a couple of really cool songs, so let's talk about that next. So as I am wont to do, I used, for any headphone stuff, I used my headphone hi-fi playlist. There will be a link to that playlist for both Title and Qobuz in the video description. I'm not going to link to the individual tracks. So the first track I used is off the Enigma album MXC AD, which is 1990 AD, when it's curiously when it was released. And it's called Principles of Lust, Sadness, Find Love, and then Sadness Reprise. And it's a medley. And it's from their groundbreaking 1990 album. The track blends three interwoven movements that showcase the project's kind of signature fusion of Gregorian chant, ambient soundscapes, and kind of sensual rhythm motifs. It's really interesting. So Sadness, the first portion of it, introduces the melody with its now iconic blend of medieval chant samples and kind of moody electronic groove, exploring themes of forbidden desire and spiritual tension. It's a reference to the Marquis de Sade, and it's very intentionally provocative. Now, the Find Love portion of it shifts more into kind of an intimate and atmospheric section with whispering vocals and kind of ethereal textures that evoke a very sensual introspection. And then the Sadness Reprise kind of reintroduces the opening theme again and bringing the melody kind of full circle and deepening its central emotional and sonic motifs. The track helped define Enigma's style and it became a major hit, especially the Sadness segment, which charted internationally. It's very much a hallmark of 90s electronic new age, balancing kind of spiritual ambience and erotic undertones. It's a beautiful track. It's a wonderful album. It's been remixed a million times, but it sounds really good on headphones. And it's a very good recording, even though the soundstage and everything is all created in the studio. But anyway, let's talk about what I used next. So the final track I used was this track from Mike Oldfield called Let There Be Light, and it's off his 1994 album, The Songs of Distant Earth. And it's a concept album very much inspired by Arthur C. Clarke's sci-fi novel of the same name. And that's a great book. And I don't know if you know, Arthur C. Clarke was a co-writer and kind of the progenitor behind 2001: A Space Odyssey. Also, too, he wrote a paper back in the 1940s, which sparked and kind of created the whole idea of satellites orbiting Earth. So you should check out Arthur C. Clarke, fascinating guy. Anyway, it was inspired by that album. So the track blends kind of ambient electronic and progressive elements, setting a cosmic tone for the whole album overall. It begins with sampled NASA audio, including the famous phrase, "Let there be light," which was from one of the moon missions. And it evolves kind of into a rich, layered soundscape. Oldfield kind of combines synth textures, soft rhythms, and very melodic guitar lines. He's a great guitarist that evoke this feeling of kind of creation and space exploration. The track is very cinematic and kind of meditative at the same time, and it really showcased Mike Oldfield's ability to kind of fuse atmosphere with musical structure. The guy is a very, very excellent musician. Almost all of us know from Tubular Bells, but he has a much deeper catalog than just that. So Let There Be Light received tons of praise for its immersive production and often considered one of the highlights of kind of his 1990s electronic work. So where am I at with this thing? I thought it was really good. Actually, like I said in the kind of summation or my sound thoughts, it's one of the first ESS DAC chips that I don't find really objectionable or really hard to listen to. It actually was quite pleasant. With a good pair of headphones, kind of a softer sounding headphone, very much like the FIO FT1 Pro or the FT5, which is a beautiful headphone. It was very, very easy to listen to and very engaging and encouraged me to listen a lot longer. And boy, does it have power. The Hifi Diva is not an easy headphone to drive, and it drove those without any issue whatsoever. Really, really nice. So anyway, I recommend this. And again, a big shout out to Aoshida for providing the unit for me for review. And again, there will be an affiliate link in the pinned comment and in the video description. I think that's everything. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you'd be willing to give me a like and your subscription. That would count a lot. I'd like to thank my channel members and my subscribers and my viewers. Thank you so very much. There will be a membership link in the pinned comment and video description. There will be a Qobuz and Title link to the playlist in the video description. There are some affiliate links in the video description. You guys know the drill on that. Please comment. Let me know your thoughts. Where are you at? Are you looking for a headphone unit? Are you looking for the preamp for your desktop? This worked really well, and it worked really well with the Cambridge MXW70. That was a good combination, very nice combination. Anyway, so share with me your thoughts on that. Also in the video description is a link to the community post playlists. Please check those out. There's some wonderful music. They're really, really good. I think I've covered all the bases with this one. Please like, subscribe, comment. Follow me on Instagram if you want to. My name is Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. And now, as I always tell you, please take a moment, actually take an hour, put on some beautiful music, sit back, relax, and just let the cares of the day kind of wash away and just kind of find some inner peace. Anyway, you gave me a lot of your time. I'm grateful for it. Thank you so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day.